So what we're going to do before we do the big unveiling, we're just going to talk a little bit about Martin. We're going to talk about sizes and why there's so many different guitars. We're going to talk about that guitar that just came out. Thank you. And we're going to answer questions. So I always like to say that this is for you. I don't need to hear myself speak. My wife tells me that too. No, I don't need to hear myself speak. I have a lot of information that I can share with you. I spent a lot of time with Chris Martin and other family members. So there's a lot of good stories, and we'll throw those in somewhere in the middle. But I want to make sure that you have the opportunity to ask questions. So feel free to do that at any time. You know, if it's going real deep into something that might be something that we take aside afterwards. So there'll be plenty of time for that. Brought some stuff from the factory for you to enjoy. There's some pens and sound holes and things like that over there. I also have some hats. There are a limited number of the journals. There are two sets of, I think it's 2022 and 2023. But you can take those as well. The hats, would love to see you go home with something. We want to get you so excited to go home with something Martin today. So Bill's and Martin, we're going to do a BOGO, buy one, get one free on strings. So great time to get strings, even if the accounts are a little bit strapped. It's a good time to do that. And the strings can be different. So maybe you want to try one of the new Monel strings or one of the Kovar strings, but you're kind of a Foster Bronze person. So get some Foster Bronze and we'll give you some Monel. So you can do that either way. But grab something, grab some polish, grab some strings, and we'll send you home with a free hat as well. Can't do free guitars, but we're going to show you lots of cool guitars and hopefully explain what they all do. So, also have these. I have just grabbed some pieces of wood. I was at the factory the other day picking up the box of swag and the dumpster was open. So grab some of these. Up our way we have burn bands because it's been so dry. This stuff burns great. So if you like to make some fires in the backyard, you want some really, really dry, burn hot. It doesn't burn long, but it burns real hot because it's kiln dry. You can grab a piece of these. Do a takeaway or whatever. Just kind of a fun thing. So the Martin story goes way back, and part of what we're doing tonight is celebrating an anniversary of 60 years and a multi-generational business right here in Phoenix. Martin guitar as well, multi-generational. Been around for a long time. Chris Martin is the 6th generation. So if you've ever seen his signature, it says CFM4. It's a little misleading, but it's actually the 6th generation. It's just 4th CF Martin. So there's some other names in there that were a little bit different along the way. Company started in Germany, in Remarkably, and moved to New York City in 1833. So that's where part of the should be on there, right? Yeah, established 1833. So that's the moniker for the time in New York City. Now, New York City at that time, anybody seen pictures or I think there was a movie called Gangs of New York, and New York City was not a nice place yet. And I'm not going to make fun of New York City, but some could argue right now it has its troubles, but it's still a great place to go visit. But New York City back then, the streets were dirt. There was sewage running down the side of the street. There were horses and pigs, and there was gang violence. There was lots of stuff going on. So imagine a family moving from the hilly countryside of West Germany and coming to New York City. Major culture shock. And almost immediately, CF's wife was disappointed. She was a little disenchanted with the location change. Can everybody hear me?
Okay. I'd rather not use the mic, but
if we need it, we'll use it. So they come over, and it's a little funky for them. It's a little different than what they're used to. And CF had apprenticed in Austria. I'm getting there, but I think in Austria with Johann Stauffer, and there were other apprentices in that shop. One of them had moved to the Nazareth area in the early 1830s. And because they apprenticed together, they were friends, and the wives also were friends. So when they moved to New York City, they were still communicating. So Tilly Martin and Mrs. Schott, they were communicating, and Attila was sending letters, which we actually have, that's how we know this part of the story, sending letters to Nazareth saying, we're not sure we're going to stay, we don't really like this place, it's dirty, it's smelly, and we just don't like it, we're thinking about going back. Well, fortunately, Mrs. Schott said, come visit us. We're in the hills, it feels like home. People speak German here, there's a lot of German-speaking people in that part of Pennsylvania. And the Moravians in particular, which had been exiled from Moravia, and they came over much earlier. They came over in 1743, almost 100 years before Martin came to America. So German-speaking, all sorts of similarities between the old homeland and what they have there in Pennsylvania. So they literally come down for a visit, see this countryside, hear the common language, and they feel like they're at home. So almost right away, they take up to come down to Pennsylvania. And that's really where the majority of the story begins. So they move around a little bit in Pennsylvania, in our area. And because the aforementioned Moravians, they were there, and imagine 1743 moving to America, there are some challenges, right? So they had very closed communities. They lived within a gate or a fence around the community. And if you were not Moravian, you weren't allowed to be there after dusk. So the Martin family moved just outside of Nazareth, as close as they could be, just outside of Nazareth. And then later on, I think it was 1859, when the town incorporated, they were able to move into Nazareth and establish the old factory. So the images that you see, the old brick building, that is 1859. And then that building just expanded and expanded and expanded as the company grew over the years. So just an amazing story and history about building and just being in America and all the changes there. So at that time, in the 1800s, the guitars that CF was apprenticing on building, we don't have any here that are exactly that shape, but they were called parlor guitars, right? So back in, this is pre-electricity, so you should turn the lights out, really get a feel for this. What do you do at night? You don't have all the comforts that we have today. People entertain themselves in different ways. And one of those was to play music together in a parlor. Now, at that time, it was generally more female-dominated, so it would be, Mrs. Schott and Mrs. Martin, or whatever the names were, they would get together and play some music. So we could literally be sitting in a parlor, and Jack and I would have our guitars, and we would just play them. Enjoy each other's company and play some music. So for that reason, when you think about proximity, the guitars only needed to be not even this big. This is one of the new guitars, but early parlor guitars were very small, closer to like an LX size, something like this one here. And again, they were for our entertainment. Now, as the guitar grows in popularity over time, the audience gets bigger. So now we're in a room like this, or we're in a house of worship, or then you get into the early 20s and 30s, country music starts. Now we have raucous parties going on, and the rooms got bigger, concert halls, and if you were all the way in the back by the wall or the door, you might not be able to hear Jack play. So there was a big need for the guitar to be larger. So that, also in conjunction with what happened with the popularity of the ukuleles coming in the late 19-teens, the World's Fair out in San Francisco, people go nuts for the ukulele. The ukulele, very, very tingy, it's got a lot of high-pitched stuff, so people were wanting lower voices in the ukulele orchestra, and then a little bit later on, now we have the country artists and bluegrass artists playing in the big halls, and we need guitars that are bigger. So we go from parlor, and we'll talk about the sizes more specifically, but we go from a little parlor guitar, the one of the 12-fret instruments that look like peanuts, and we come to the dreadnought. So give us a little strum on that, Jack. So we can hear that in the back, right? mean, it's not going to be loud. It's not going to hurt your ears, but you can hear it in the back of the hall. And that was the thing that really kicked things off for Mark Guitar. Just went nuts. And later on, it was MTV Unplugged. But that early time of the guitar moving from living room, parlor, to being something that was being performed with on big stages was a huge advent. And this is all pre-microphone also. So, microphones were just starting to be invented, and you needed a guitar to project. We didn't have pickups and all of those things. That's all comes much later. So for a long time, this big body, the dreadnought that Martin invented, became the standard for guitar. So we all kind of know that shape. We can look around this room and we're probably looking at 10 or 12 different brands of instruments, and we see a lot of dreadnoughts. So the majority of the guitars in here are dreadnought, and there's some different sizes in there as well. But so dreadnought's been around since 1914, 1915, somewhere in there, and changed sizes a little bit, and then honed in on this exact shape right here. So up until that point, again, things were smaller. So we had the parlor guitars. Parlor guitars started out as they were a size 1, a size 2. So size 1 was maybe here. Then there was a 1.5 and a 2, and they kept getting bigger and bigger. And they ran out of numerals. I mean, they were just going, and it was getting too far. And so they changed, and the German influence in Pennsylvania got them to change the nomenclature from 1, 2, 3, 4 to aught, double aught, triple aught, quadruple aught, and then dreadnought. So that's where those names come from. A single aught guitar, we think of, what's the name for it? I would say Russian dolls, but there's another name for them, right? So you have the big one on the outside, that'd be the dreadnought, and then they all fit inside each other. So as we go from, let's find a triple O real quick. You have a dreadnought. They're up there. So triple O, here's a triple O 15. Triple O 15 is going to fit right inside that dreadnought. And then double O would fit inside there. And single O would fit inside there. So we go from dreadnought to single O. May not from the back look like a huge difference, but there's still 3 different sizes that fit in between there. And they all have different tones, different sounds, serve a different purpose. And now we're at a point where it's kind of like the iPhone, right? The iPhones were tiny, and then they got bigger and bigger. You had iPads and all that. Now everybody's going back to a small phone. Same thing with guitars. Is there's still an amazement about the dreadnought. It'll never go away. But with the advent of pickups and better sound systems and all those things, a lot of people are gravitating back to smaller guitars. And it might just be slightly smaller than the dreadnought, but some people are even going double O and single O. And so that begs the question, well, what's the advantage? What does that do for me? Or what am I losing by going to a smaller guitar? And it's not really about loss, it's just about change. And at that point, we're talking pure physics, right? This is a big guitar. It's got a lot of volume to it. When we shrink that a little bit, we're going to change the sound, the fundamental frequency of the guitar. It's going to be a little bit less bass response, but it's still a great sound guitar. And you may not need all of this bass, right? The other thing about the changes in sizes now is that, Jack, what do you have at home? Do you have dreadnoughts? Do you have smaller?
Yeah, dreadnought.
Dreadnought, okay. So as we, and then Jack's younger than I am, but as we age, right, this can become, for some, not everybody, this can become a little bit of a challenge. If you're going to play guitar, you want to be able to enjoy it, right? Even if it doesn't matter whether you're teaching or just playing at home for yourself, you want to have some time to enjoy the guitar. So if that big instrument isn't comfortable for you, you may have a need to go to a smaller size. And again, just going from dreadnought to triple O or OM, which are actually the same outline, you're not losing much, right? It's a little bit of a change. You don't need to drive the guitar for somebody to hear all the way back there. And if you do, then you have pickups and microphones and all of that stuff to get you there. So just a little overall on the sizes and history of where they are. let's do this, Jack. Let's play this smaller guitar. This, by the way, is a replica of an old D28. So this is a 1937 authentic. So the authentic guitars are built in the custom shop, and they are designed to be as close to that original formula as possible, including the finish, the bracing, the glue. So these use high glue, which was used back then, and now we're using different glues. But really cool guitar. I wanted to bring this one because it's kind of an expensive guitar. It's not in every store, and I wanted to bring it down in case somebody wanted to try it out. But it's always great to hear an example of just a really, really good sounding guitar. And the other thing about these is the Authentics, in the $10,000 range, some of them a little bit under. But to get a 1937 D28 right now, to take it, give me a guess.
42,000.
Easily, right? Depends on the condition and all of that thing. So I don't have $42,000. My whole collection of guitars is worth $42,000. But if you're looking for that old timey, really good, clean Martin sound from the 30s, this is a great way to get into that.
Yeah.
And this particular one is the aged version. So when you check it out later, you can see some of the wear on it and the checking that's done. Also, the coloring is a little bit different. But Jack, give us 20 seconds on that guitar. And then let's go same thing on this guitar.
I have to say, this is old herringbone. My dad had a herringbone like this, always liked the herringbone. And I had an old 50 guitar, and I picked this up, the glue, it even smells like, I had that guitar a long time. Finally somebody offered me a price and said, you got it. But, yeah, this is amazing. It really is.
So let's do a similar example on this guitar. They're very different guitars. This one's all mahogany. But just for an example to hear the difference in size at a pretty strong extreme. And then to get a little bit more apples to apples, let's go all mahogany, but back to a dreadnought. This is the new D17. These just came out earlier in the year. It's in the standard series, so it has all the features and the new bracing that the standard series has. Looks very similar to 15 if you're familiar with that part of the line. But this one is built in Nazareth and has a full dovetail neck joint. Let's hear that here. So right away we hear more bass response, right? And that's just a virtue of what the body is doing for the different sides. Let that ring out for a little bit.
Yeah.
You tell them, Martin, the sustainable Martin you guys to have, you can hit that chord, go outside, take the smoke, come back, and it's still so,
Maybe I think we rehearsed this. I really only met him an hour ago.
that's a Martin.
So this is a great guitar. One of the best new ones, my favorite. As a bass player, I think I mentioned that before, and that's why I'm not playing. As a bass player, I really like dark, warm guitars. And the first guitar that I got when I started at Martin was a 15. It was a jumbo too, so it was even a bigger body than what we've been talking about. But let's also talk about for a moment. I mentioned the size and maybe the shoulders. Maybe you had an injury or you're just aging, like I am. But there's other reasons. So you come in here and you're looking at all these guitars, and they're not all dreadnoughts. I might have been strong in saying that most of them were, but there's lots of different sizes, different materials. Martin makes mahogany guitars. We make koa guitars. We have spruce. We have Adirondack. There's so many different changes, and that can be overwhelming. So what do? We go on our phone. We go on the internet. We find a forum. Some of us, and we start seeing what other people are saying. All right, and then we take that as gospel, and we walk into the store and we say, I must have this guitar because this person said this is a good guitar for me. Bull, right? you gotta come in, do the research. There's nothing wrong with that, but be very careful in the research that you do and the opinions that are formulated by that type of shopping. The best thing you can do, and I'm not just saying this because we're sitting in a store, it's absolutely the best thing to do, is get in a store and start to experience what the different sizes and woods do. And it really boils down to something that speaks to you, right? And another one of those reasons, I can think of a couple, maybe somebody has another example, but what are you doing with the guitar, right? Are you just playing chords and songs and that's your enjoyment? That is absolutely wonderful. If you're taking it a little bit further, you're a singer-songwriter, you're doing open mics and you're singing, what is your voice? Because your voice is going to fit with a certain size and a certain wood. We mostly talk about mahogany, but rosewood is a completely different wood, right? So, Jack, do you sing?
That's debatable.
He opens his mouth while he's playing sometimes. So all of our voices are different. The point is that a alto or a soprano, you might want to hear some deep bass under there to help you with the difference between those two, right? But if you have a really low voice, your baritone or your bass voice in general, having a really bassy guitar may not be a good thing because those two are going to start to kind of conflict each other and interfere with each other. So you really got to find the voice that fits with your voice as far as guitar goes. So there are trained people here. If you want to talk about that afterwards, I'd be happy to work with you individually and help you at least hone in what would work for you. But ultimately, it really comes down to what fits, what speaks to you, right? And I tend to do when I do these things, and a lot of people say, well, which guitar is right for me, right? That's really hard. And so again, I can guide you there, I can get you in the ballpark, but choosing between 1 and 2 really comes down to what you like. So I really encourage you to get them and play them, and we'll have some time to do that later. Answer questions. Before we go too much further, any questions right now? Yeah, yes, sir.
So you talked about the bodies and the wood, but you haven't talked much about the necks.
No, I haven't.
And necks are an important part of playing the guitar. I find
Yes. Yeah.
they're an important part of playing the guitar. Some are fatter and some are, and when you're talking about your personal, what works for you personally,
Yes.
your hand's a big part of it, right?
Absolutely.
So what fits around which neck? So
Okay.
how the necks on Martin guitars differ?
They're very different. So this, let's go back to this authentic because that brings us back to a time when the necks were thicker, and there's a reason for that. These were big. This is like a half of a baseball bat. If you look at the profile from the side, also the splay from nut to the 14th fret, and then at the bridge is a little bit wider than what you see in a modern guitar. So that don't take that information and let it scare you, because as a teacher and as somebody who studied some ergonomics, because I had a great sports medicine program where I went to college, sometimes a thin neck, it seems like you want a thin neck, but you might actually want a thicker neck. And the reason is when you're playing, you don't want your hand to collapse on the guitar, right? Some people get too thin of a neck and they start compensating for that and doing things with their hand that they shouldn't be. A thick neck, and I will say again, I'm a bass player, I play upright bass, so I'm used to a thick neck, but that also led me to this firm belief that the neck is really important. Thank you for bringing it up. But you gotta have, this fits my hand really well. It feels good. Now, when you're just starting playing, or you're going to be playing for 3 hours, maybe this isn't the guitar. It could be a little bit daunting, and it might feel a little bit thick, and the action's a tad higher, and all of that. But beautiful sounding guitar, beautiful playing guitar, and again, the fit is really important. Now, all that to say that The modern neck, Jack, would you mind holding, just holding that square so they can see the profile of the neck on the side? That's much thinner, all right? So we're talking about a full D on the authentic. This is maybe 3/4 of that. So it's a much thinner neck. The new fingerboard splay and the nut width are a little bit different as well. So people have become accustomed to having an easier playing guitar. And that's okay, right? There are some sacrifices, but we want people to play. So we've got to do what's comfortable. People are also moving towards lighter strings, right? All of our, Jack was asking me earlier, because he was playing one of the guitars in the back, he said, what are these, 11s? I said, no, those are 13s. Well, a properly set up guitar will allow you to use something like a 13. And a 13 is going to drive the top of the guitar and give you the most sound, right? Again, just back to pure physics. It's going to do that. When you go to a lighter string, you lose a little bit of volume, but you gain playability. And modern players are playing much different than they used to. Give me a G chord, right? Right on the 3rd fret. You hear a lot of the old bluegrassers say, like, there ain't no money past the 5th fret. Right? All of what they were doing was down here. Now, you go on YouTube and you look up your guitar player, and you're going to see people doing things here, 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 here. They're going to be tapping on it. They're going to be playing upside down, doing this, doing that. It's like a game of Twister. But the modern neck is cued into helping with that. So, great question. And the answer is the neck means a lot. It also, not just the physical nature of the neck, but the energy that's created in the guitar transfers better. So through some study we did with Penn State, we know that the guitar energy comes up the fingerboard all the way up here and then goes back into the guitar. The more mass that you have in the neck, the more energy is going to transfer. So that's part of why a bigger neck guitar like an authentic or an actual guitar from the 30s or 40s is going to resonate a little bit differently than a modern guitar. Neither one's better than the other, but they're different. Great question. Anything else? No? I guess we're just doing such a good job.
You are great on it.
Yes,
Are
sir.
they going to do away with the 15 series?
No, there's no plans to do away with the 15s. 15s have been around since mid-1800s, even earlier. There's pictures of soldiers from that time period playing 15s. There's no plan to get rid of them. They've changed a little bit, as you can probably tell. So we still make a 15 in Nazareth, and we're making some 15s with electronics in our plant in Navajo, in Mexico. But no plans to get rid of the 15.
I had read it, the 16 in their series, but that was going to replace the 15.
Now, 16s have been around since the mid-90s, I think. They've been around for a decent amount of time. When you look at the whole history, not that long, but since about the 90s, and they have not replaced the 15s. Part of the reason is that a 15 or a 17 is all mahogany, and it's a completely different animal than a spruce top guitar. So I hope the 15s are always around.
Yeah.
Good question. Yes?
As a bass player, what can you tell us about like that acoustic bass that's sitting?
Oh, this is fun. Yeah.
We don't seem to see those too often, it seems.
No, this is new. This is part of the junior series. So we had one of the other juniors up here, and let's do this switch. Do a little switcheroo. Now we're gonna go this way. So you're gonna let's just do like a little little G blues, you got it, or whatever you want. So complement in this series of instruments. It's a great little bass. Honestly, this is more of a rehearsal, couch, hotel room bass. A friend of mine who works for Cirque du Soleil carries one of these with him when he tours, and he keeps it in the hotel room to have something to play. It's a great little instrument. Also really good. I've seen these used in ukulele orchestras. A lot of people use like Kelly U bass or even an upright. But there aren't that many upright players around anymore. This is an easy way to have something real convenient for that kind of crowd. So fun little bass. I'm glad it's around. We do also make a full-size bass as well.
I do have a question.
Yes.
Back to the string gauges. Trying different gauges, how much leeway do you have on a guitar before it requires a setup? I mean, if you want to try 11 stuff to 13s,
Yeah.
is it reason, or does the neck matter a lot, which guitar it is?
The neck certainly matters. The new SC series, those come with 11s on them. They're set up to do that. It's a much thinner neck. Now, you can put a lighter gauge string on a heavier neck, certainly. Sometimes you need a little bit of setup. So if I'm going from, and again, all of our dreadnoughts come with 13s, all of the triple OMs come with 12s. The SC is the only one that comes with 11s. So if you take a dreadnought with 13s on it and put 12s on, you might just need a little adjustment of the truss rod. If you go from 13s to 11s, you're probably going to need a good truss rod tweak, and it's possible that you might even need to fiddle with the nut a little bit as well and have somebody set that up for you. But there's nothing wrong with trying it. You're not going to hurt the guitar by doing so. The only thing you could do is after a prolonged period of time, the lighter strings might dig in a little bit to the nut, and then you might have to replace the nut to go the other way. But just going, and that might be a good thing to try tonight, is get some 11s from them on a guitar, see how they feel. And they're going to feel good, but see if it works.
Well, I play some electric too, so a lot of times after playing acoustic, I go to my electric and I'm just yanking the thing out of tune.
Right.
I put 10s with a wound G on I got one that I put 11s on, but none of them are heavier than that.
Right.
And I normally play 12s on the acoustic.
Okay. Yeah, it definitely make a difference. But it's worth experimenting with. Every guitar is going to react a little bit differently based on the wood and the environment. So again, you could need anything from a subtle tweak of the truss rod to you might need some more adjustments. But there's nothing wrong with trying it and then going back. So if that's something anybody wanted to try, get yourself a set of 12 tonight and take home some 11s on us and see what happens. Do a little experiment. Yes, sir.
So I've been using the Martin Marquis mediums for going on 20-something years.
Okay.
I was thinking of trying the Monels. Is that going to be a more or less of a tension on that?
Great question. I'm glad there's so many string questions, because usually that doesn't come up. So everybody's going to do the buy one, get one tonight on strings. The Monel strings are, by nature of material, they feel a little bit slinkier. So for an example, a 12 kind of feels like an 11.5, or 13 feels like a 12.5. So you're going to gain some flexibility by going to the Monel string. Mostly you can experience different sound, and they work on any guitar. They're really, really keyed into, not intentionally, they just are. They're really keyed into the mahogany guitars that work really well with the Monel or the Copar strings.
So how does that translate to the actual pressure on the bridge?
All of that, it doesn't change the... So on a dreadnought with 13s, you have 186 pounds of pressure pulling on the bridge. It's nominal, so you might be at 180 or something. So not a huge change as far as how it pulls, but you are going to feel the difference in the string. Yeah. Yes. Oh, okay. All right. That's exciting. We're going to switch gears a little bit, because we've got this wonderful gentleman back there with a camera, and he's got other things to do, so we're going to switch to the unveiling.
We're going to go quickly to the unveiling. Luckily, we have Channel 2 News here tonight, and Channel 2 News would like to put the guitar, I think, on the 11 o'clock news tonight. However, they got to get going.
So we're going to break into...
I'm Brenden for a couple seconds, and then we are going to unveil the guitar. So, just a quick history of the guitar. My two sisters, Tracy and Jamie, went up to Martin in the spring, and our friend and longtime employee, owner of Island Music, went up with them. And together they worked on this guitar, and we just seen it 2 weeks ago. And anyway, today the unveiling, so I'd like to introduce Keith Grasso, former Bills alumnus and owner of Island Music, who's going to tell you all about it and turn off power of the top. So thanks, folks.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me here tonight. I'm absolutely honored to be here. As Brian said, I am a former Bills Music alumni. I started my musical career here, my real musical journey. In fact, I even bought my very first Martin guitar from Bill's Music. I think I picked through a million different ones in the basement before I decided what I was going to buy, and that was all on work hours. It was. So anyhow, I'm thrilled to be here. This store was a very important part of my journey. All of the family has been a very important part of my life. I don't just like the Higgins, I love the Higgins family. So when they asked me to help partner with them on this tribute guitar to Bill's, I was 100% in.
He was.
So
Absolutely.
we went up to the Martin factory sometime in the winter. Oh, right behind me there. We went up to the Martin factory this winter, and we were able to spend some time in the custom shop and in the Martin guitar wood vault. And we picked some really unique features on this guitar, which pay tribute to Bill's 1970s dreadnought guitar that he had all that time. So I guess he picked on that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So we were able to pay tribute to that guitar. I guess without any further ado, we could unveil the guitar.
Let's do it.
Good.
Yeah.
All right.
There we are. I have never had confetti on stage in my entire life. It's pretty awesome. So I want to take a minute to talk about some of the specs on the guitar and why this is such a special instrument. The Martin Guitar Custom Shop is absolutely amazing. If you dream it, they can build it. So when we went to Martin, we basically had every spec of Bill's dreadnought guitar from the 70s that we wanted to recreate with this Martin guitar. So we chose vault mahogany wood on the back and sides, and a high altitude spruce top. It's got beautiful figured koa binding, and a couple really nice cosmetic touches, such as the gold tuning keys, Grover gold tuning keys. And we have LR bags, electronics in there for players that want to plug in, which that has become kind of the industry standard. And one of my favorite features is, if you look at the bridge pins on the guitar, they look a little bit different than what you've become accustomed to. Those are liquid metal bridge pins. And kind of the big feature for those is it enhances sustain, it enhances volume, and it enhances tone. So our mission for this guitar was to build an iconic instrument for an iconic story. Chris, stay away. So as you hear, the guitar is really full sounding, it's really well rounded, it's crisp, it's clean. Chris, you want to play something a little bit more aggressive with a big guitar? That was really great.
He happens to have one.
You better.
Yeah.
Guitar player always has a special.
Right. I only buy the jeans from the big pockets. So as you can hear, the guitar also sounds great when you play with the pick. It's really fits well for just about any style. I'm really glad we got him to demo because I can play.
Oh, yes, you can. Thank you, Chris.
Other really cool features is the guitar has Martin's aging toner on the top, so it gives you the look and the feel of a vintage guitar, but with all the features of a modern guitar, and it is available in 2 different finishes. So if you take a look at the back there, sorry to make you stop playing, there are 2 different finishes. There is a Music City mahogany, which is this guy here, and then there is a Magothy Sunset, which Bill lived on the Magothy River. Spoke of the sunsets, so we decided to kind of make one that paid tribute to that. So it has a little bit of a red tint to the wood, and it's still the same custom shop model here, just a little bit of a different look. So all beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
How about you?
Absolutely beautiful. Anniversary label on the inside of it. That's numbered. There's 6 of them, and they come with a certificate of authenticity, a little Bill's Music History book there, a beautiful blue strap, and of course the awesome Martin guitar. So they're $47.99, and there's a special Martin event, Bill's 60th anniversary pricing special, so they're 10% off tonight. And Chris will play them for you if you like.
Right, yeah.
So thank you guys very much for allowing me to be part of this project.
Thank you, Keith.
Jamie and Nancy for allowing me to be part of this store and part of this legacy. It's been an absolute honor. So
Thank you.
go.
Thank you.
Now we're gonna navigate all this stuff.
Yeah, sorry. Jack, you're covered.
When I heard about the plans for this earlier, I was like, wow, this is fun. I've never been to an event like this. Really good time. And this whole time I've been kind of holding back because I knew Keith was going to come up and talk about these guitars, but it really is an honor to be a part of the store. I hinted at it earlier because we have some history in the store. We have at least 3 generations. Any 4th generation?
Well, so my parents started it in 1965. Then we've got Brian, Tracy, and I, and Tracy's husband, Lenny, who are kind of doing the day-to-day now. And I do have a few kids that come in every once in a while and help out. So, 4th generation, not yet. We're on the 3rd. Yeah, we're working on it.
Let's not push it.
No, let's not do that.
Take your time there, buddy.
Yeah.
But no, for you, hopefully at your young age you understand how cool this is. I know, are you a musician? Put you on the
He
spot.
plays the violin.
Violin?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if you said drummer, maybe not. You're a musician. But it's a really cool thing. Not many businesses survive, let alone go into multi-generation. So Martin actually is one of, I think in the top 20, and it moved up a little while, a couple of years ago, but top 20 oldest family-run businesses in the U.S. And the others are banks and farms. So it gives you some sense of what works and how far things go. But again, an honor to be here and be a part of all this. It's really, really exciting. Yes?
The Martin MSP 4100 Foster strings, have they been discontinued?
Well, yes and no. So there is no MSP 4100 anymore,
Yeah.
but the same string is over there on the wall. I can show it to you later. So we just changed the numbers on it. So that string is now a MA, let's see, 4100. So that was like an MA 530T.
Previous 530.
Yeah. Red label string. Custom.
Because I'm running out of the ones that
All right.
I bought a bunch of them.
Grab me later and I'll show you, and you might as well take advantage of that.
Yeah, buy one, get one.
Get a bunch of them. All right, so we talked about, yes, question back there.
Yeah, it's a nomenclature question that
Whoa.
I can't find an answer to.
All right.
D is Dreadnought, J is Jumbo. What the heck does SC stand for?
What the heck does that stand for? I can't even tell you. So,
I'm assuming the C is cutaway, but nobody can figure out what the S stands for in your guitar.
I forgot to look earlier to see if we had one here. No, an S usually refers to special, but the SC is a unique body shape. So if you look at the body shape, just starting from the base side and then moving around, it kind of looks like an S.
Okay.
That's really where it came from. So it is kind of a special looking guitar, very, very different. In fact, when we first came out with those, I think it's been 3 years now, we weren't sure how to display them at NAMM because it just looked fun to us.
Right.
You know, we've been doing, Jack's been playing dreadnoughts, and we're talking about dreadnought. That's what we know. That's our nature. So to do something different was very, very unique. So the SE guitar is a very unique guitar. It's a cutaway. It's a thin body. It has a very thin neck on it and a patented neck joint that's different than what we do. So really, really unique guitars. If I find one, I just may not be able to see it from here. But and they span from SE28 down to SE10. So there's $1,000 ones and there's $4,000 ones. So there's a variety there. But as we were talking about string gauges earlier, and that guitar was specifically designed for the electric player who needs to get over to acoustic and then go back. Not that anybody can't use it. And one of the advantages of the SC guitar is that you can adjust the intonation, you can adjust the neck height and angle on that guitar. So if you just want a thin neck and you want to do some bluegrass picking, you can do it on that guitar. If you're an electric player and you want to play some faster runs and you want to use that guitar in a rock band, because its feedback ratio is less than most guitars as well. So really, really cool guitar. Thank you for bringing that. I was only not talking about it because I didn't see one yet. Yes.
I've been looking for the triple knot 15 for quite a while, and every place I look at them, they come with the gig bag. No more solid case.
Not a solid case for the 15. So the gig bags that we're using are, there's a couple different versions, but they're basically like this. They are very, very sturdy. It's a little bit more than an average gig bag. The gig bag that I grew up with, which is basically a towel.
You can't buy the
You can
hard case.
You can buy a hard case for it. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a 12C330. And it's
Oh, that's the number.
that's the number for the
Well,
case.
luckily I found one.
Found a guitar?
I found the exact guitar and the case, hard case.
Oh, okay.
So,
But yeah, cases are available for any of the guitars. So
Okay.
even if they don't come with one, naturally we have.
but it's basically a price thing.
Yes,
Gig
yeah.
bag.
So pricing becomes sensitive to what other people are doing. You know, it's boring pricing stuff. But you know, what is the market doing? Where do people buy? So there's a lot of research that goes into people buying this category, they're buying this category, and they're buying this category.
Okay.
And if you miss one of those categories with your pricing, then you're kind of pushing it into the higher category, and it doesn't necessarily work. So some of it is just about pricing. So, yes, go ahead.
I was just at the factory on Saturday to do the before and everything, and I noticed in the Porsche in the lobby area they had an electric Martin. So
Electric guitar.
Yeah,
70 some hour, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it was a 67.
Probably.
And do they make them still?
No.
Or no.
No.
And what was the years that they made it?
So it depended on which electrics, but Martin's tried many things over the year. You know, when you look at the stuff, we're talking about a 1937 D28, this one, and then we're talking about a new HD28. Not a whole lot has changed, right? It's blue, but the basic structure is there. We've tried different things at different times when the business was slower and Chris's father was very into experimenting. So just as a quick example, electric guitars, a basketball team. So we owned a basketball team. We owned a drum company. We owned a banjo company. We owned a string company, which is now called D'Addario. He really did a lot of stuff. And when Chris took over the business, he really wanted to, he uses the term stick to your knitting. And he really wanted us to focus on flat top, steel string, acoustic guitars. And so that brings me to the second coming of the acoustic guitar, which was MTV Unplugged. So had we diversified, maybe we wouldn't have made it out of the almost bankruptcy in the 80s. Once that keyboard came along, particularly the Yamaha DX7, killed the acoustic guitar for a while. And then somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I think in 1996 is when Eric Clapton went on MTV Unplugged. literally changed our world overnight. The phone system broke the next day. Couldn't take calls. That changed everything. So good thing we stuck to our knitting. And it's often my advice to people who are starting other companies is like, be careful about diversifying too much because it can be dangerous. It can really distract you from what we do. So we did make the hollow body semi-acoustic guitars, and then those were in the 60s, and then in the mid to late 70s we started doing solid body electric guitars. Very very modern looking for their time. In fact, the body shape of those guitars are being used. Some current manufacturers basically doing the same kind of body. So the body was ahead of its time. The headstock was the ugliest thing we'd ever seen, and therefore they didn't do very well. So there weren't very many of those made. And we've tried some different things, but kind of sticking to what we do. Yes, Becca.
Yeah, I remember you had basically D28 with a couple of giant pickups on the front of it.
Right. Yeah. Those were Diarmond and what was the other company? Diarmond and somebody else. And we were putting big electric guitar pickups in acoustic guitars. They had the big airplane knobs on them. Kurt Cobain played one of those when he did MTV Unplugged. And because MTV Unplugged is going back to some anniversary, there's going to be some big resurgence of that. MTV wants to do something. We remade the Kurt Cobain guitar with the original electronics in it. So that's not even really public yet, but I did an event with Chris a couple of weeks ago, and he brought it out and showed everybody. So there's something I was filming, so I can't get in trouble for mentioning it. So, kind of a cool thing. So a little bit of the electric acoustic stuff coming back. Now, that also brings up another good question is your standard dreadnought guitar, just an acoustic guitar. Doesn't mean you can't put a pickup in it, but a lot of guitars, and this goes back to the question about price, when you're in a guitar under $2,000, there's an expectation that there's going to be a pickup in it. When you're in a guitar $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, there's an expectation that it's going to be pure coming from market. Now, some of these other companies, Taylor's right behind me, right? Taylor has always made acoustic electric cutaways. That is their thing. And when we try to do that with the standard models, people say, what are you doing? You're breaking tradition. So that doesn't work for us. But in $1,000, $2,000 guitars, we put pickups in almost everything. So they're all really amplified. Yes?
Are counterfeit Martins much of a problem, and how can you assure
Not so much
getting
right now.
the real Martin?
It's always been a problem. Counterfeiting has gone back to the 1600s when guitars first started being built. There were a lot of Martin counterfeits in the mid to late 1800s, early 1900s, and then people were copying Gibson and Washburn and all of those people as well. And back then we didn't have our logo on the headstock, right? So it was even easier. And some of the serial numbers, early ones were done in pencil, things like that. The Chinese market in guitars has become very strong. They're making some really good stuff coming out of China, and there are still some copies coming out of that region. Not that they're not happening in the U.S. too, but there are still a lot of copies out there. We do some authentication features, which when we come to the factory, you might have seen some of that at the lasering part. And then there's also, am I being filmed?
You are. Yes.
There's also something, be careful. There's something on the inside of each guitar. So I got to be really careful because I was in R&D when we implemented this, and my NDA says you'll be fired if you say too much. But there's a special material hidden on the inside of the guitar. So I could take a certain frequency laser and tell you whether any of these are real or not, if we had to. The guitars have been less of an issue recently than the strings. It's more likely that the strings get copied than anything else. But yeah, there's always been and probably always will be.
Sounds like they like to copy the D45 more than anything.
They do, right?
Nice until you start to look at it closer.
Yeah, then you get closer.
The sound gives
where you hear it. Yeah. So back to those internet searches. If you see a D45, which is an all-pearl guitar, top, back, and sides, it's $10,000 in our catalog. if you see a D45 for $700, don't. It's not real. It's not real, but they're definitely out there. But yeah, that definitely happens. It's something we need to be concerned about. So part of the problem with the history is that a lot of the stuff that we did and started, like Dreadnought, we don't have a patent for it, but we started it. X-bracing is a Martin invention. The paddle headstock is a Martin invention. This is the only one that we have. This is the only one that we have the rights to. Yeah. So anybody else in here with a paddle headstock is only doing so because they mention our name somewhere in their literature or their website. So that we don't have. Dreadnought, everybody copies of Dreadnought. Flatter is great, but it really would have been nice to have a paddle. So speaking of coming to Martin, come on up again. I think I said it was about 3 hours. And, it's an amazing tour. Obviously, all of you are here because you're probably into guitars, but if it's a matter of like that spouse or friend or somebody won't go because they think it's a guitar thing and they're bored, it's really a music history tour and museum. It spans all of that. It's really fascinating. Yes.
Speaking of the factory, is there a better day? What's the best day to go? Does it have to be prearranged or
Wednesday? It does have to be prearranged now. So you got to go on the website and sign up for a tour. They're generally, I think, between 11 and 2 o'clock.
So you sign up for a specific.
You sign up for a specific time. Okay. Yeah. It used to be. I mean, if you happen to be in the area and you showed up, they're not going to turn you away unless it's just flooded. But Monday through Friday, about 11 to 2, and it's on the visit page on the website. You can sign up right there and see what's going on for that day. So it's here. There's another guitar specifically we want to talk about. This one has the biggest tag on it I've ever seen. You see that?
Do you need some scissors?
I might have to help you hold this one up. This is a factory special that is through the custom shop. So it's essentially a It's a Dreadnought. There's also a triple O version, but $39.99 for a custom shop guitar. The main difference, if you wouldn't mind showing people the back, this is a walnut guitar.
Wow.
And those of you who do your searches and you know about mahogany and rosewood and koa, some of you are scratching your head saying walnut. That's a weird wood, but it's a great tone wood. It sits somewhere between mahogany and rosewood. It's similar to cherry. It's also a domestic hardwood. And one of the challenges with what we do is that I was just being so. That probably does help. One of the challenges with mahogany and rosewood is that they're not yet endangered, at least the basic ones, but they're very scarce, they're very expensive, very difficult to get hold of. We have people that literally crawl into the jungles and look at the tree stump where our wood came from. So we are very, very, very careful about sourcing. But the bigger point is that those woods are becoming more and more scarce. So if you can harvest a wood domestically, our cherry comes from Pennsylvania, from the same source for 100 years. The walnut, I don't know exactly where it comes from, but somewhere in the U.S. or Canada, they're great tumblers. They're just not exactly what you're used to, but when you give them a chance, they're fantastic. And again, this one sits right in the in between the mahogany and rosewood range, and we got Jack give us a song on that one, so you can hear it.
You gotta take a look at this. This is gorgeous.
And as he's preparing to play, this is by factory exclusive. I mean, the only way to get this guitar. So when Tracy and Jamie and Keith came up to spec out the 60th anniversary guitar, they were able to bring one of these home with them. And that's the only way you can get it. So you can't just call a store and get this guitar. This is available here because they were at the factory. So let's hear it.
Sorry.
So similar to the Monel, very warm sounding string. So what you're hearing in this guitar right now is very even, very right out the middle in sound. You could get a little bit more brightness out of this guitar if you put Foster Brown strings on it. But it sounds great like this with the Covars. So, I know I said we're, buy some Tracy stuff and you get a hat. But I'm going to give away a hat right now for the first person that can tell me what song he was playing. Who's first?
I said it earlier.
Everyone.
I said it earlier when he was practicing.
Yeah, all right. We'll have to figure that one out. Man, I thought that was going to be the song. One of my favorite songs.
What's the language?
Yeah.
He's got that.
1964.
1964. Great song. Classic. All right. Any other questions? We kind of reviewed all the ice cream. Where's the ice cream? Is it supposed to be some ice cream? Yes.
There should be. Can I see the smaller body that was more of the firework size?
I'm sorry?
One of the firework sized to the right of Jack.
Oh, yeah. So we should talk about this quick too. And some plays it a little bit. So this is an O size guitar. The smallest of the aughts. And this particular guitar is a little bit different. So this is part of the X series. So we've talked about a lot of $3,000 guitars. One of the things we've had to do is be conscious of price and come up with some instruments that were a little bit more accessible. So we can't build a $200 guitar, but we can build a really good, $499 guitar with some different materials and in a different factory. So this is a X series guitar. It's made out of HPL, and it is made to look like Koa on the top back and sides. Great tone material. It's similar to a countertop material. We always say we don't use the F word at Martin, but kind of like Formica.
Yes.
So you intuitively think of that and you think, oh, it's going to be a really tin box kind of sounding guitar. But even in a single level, I hope you can hear some of the warmth that's coming out of that.
Sounds good for a plastic box.
It's not plastic. No. No, there's actually wood in it. So it's wood fiber and resin. And then in the outside is an image of a piece of Koa.
Sounds good for a resin guitar.
There you go. Whatever you want to call it. But it's a great sounding instrument. And again, at $499, it's a Martin guitar. It is built in the Martin factory with Martin specs. So when I'm training salespeople, we often talk about, like, mom or dad comes in and Susie's 15 years old and wants to play guitar. You can get them a really inexpensive guitar. Some stores set them up. Some brands are a little bit better than others. But in 6 months, if she's not playing, this guitar has more resale value than a lot of less expensive instruments. Also, it plays really well for an inexpensive guitar. There you go. Good note.
How they got there?
So thanks for bringing that because I didn't talk about the X series. Okay, so any other questions? I thought there was one more handout. All right, so what we want to move to now is, I always get bored if I'm sitting too long, just listening to somebody talk. He's like, yeah, I'm done with this, right? Want to get you out and playing some guitars, and we want to be able to answer questions. A really good thing to do is if you're interested in a certain guitar, play it, and then have Jack play it, or have your friend play it, and sit in front of the guitar and hear how it sounds. That's actually how we do testing, because it's very different, and it's good to know what a guitar is going to sound like to an audience. So if you have more questions, I'm just going to be hanging around. Feel free to ask. And we've got the guitars. I want to show you some strings. If anybody else wants to see strings, we can go over there. There's a whole wall over there. Blue, green, red. Blue is the old Martin string that's always been around. I know we changed our box. And a lot of people were really upset with that, but we kept the colors the same, trying to be as consistent as possible.
As long as the string is the same, whatever.
Same string.
Yeah.
Same string. there'll be some new stuff coming out this year. But so we can look at that. We've got Bill's staff here, so they can help you with guitars as well. But let's start the mingling and getting some guitars in your hands and answering questions. And Jack and I will be hanging around to see what you got.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.